Hello, this is the Hovering Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative take about the world around me. So feedback is immensely important. Feel free to reach out. And also, I have a Shopify link. You're interested and you have questions, comments, concerns too, check that out. All right, so some of the audio platforms that I'm on Spotify, Pandora, of course, Spreaker, number one, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, just to name a few. All right, so this episode is going to go into more depth of what I talked about with scary movies. This time I'm going to talk about the aspects of fan theories about scary movies. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to jump into my thoughts before I get right into everything. So the aspects of fan theories. Now, I said this before. I'm going to reiterate this again. Fan theories have a rich tapestry of filling in the holes. And so where does that lie in the aspects of thrillers, or in this case, horror? I mean, horror in itself is supposed to be in the realm of dispending the belief and to the upteenth degree. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is that, in essence, horror is what it is. It's supposed to engage in the aspects of what do you do in a situation where there is your worst fear coming true. And then some people have the take where, to add on to what I was saying about everything with the aspects of the important. No, well, I would say, I think they're stretching it saying the importance, but the aspects of how horror films implement itself are implemented in our culture. Well, some people see it in a class of thinking about it that, survival instinct. What do you do at your worst? And then a way to showcase that and to live like a live through experience. Some see it as the aspects of excitement, which is strange in itself. But and some people just have a whole nother point of view. They don't want to deal with it. It's just something that's just around and so forth. And then some people have nostalgia about it. Some people, it's a list of aspects of why horror in itself continues to be a prevalent aspect of pop culture. Now, when you get into fan theories in itself, I think it heightens. It's sort of like it's a marketing tool to say, oh wow, if that's going on, geez, let's take a second look at this, and sort of to give a second review about something as to gain more popularity. And then some people say that that's the reason why Texas Chainsaw Massacre and other films along of that caliber are so popular, because they have such a strong fan base. And then some people have the thought process of saying, well, again, as I was saying, with the aspects of the governmental influence of saying, oh, these things are banned, particularly when you get in the aspects of, to add on to what I was saying about horror films, Sam Raimi's films, Evil Dead. So initially this film was banned, and it was deemed too improper for, viewership. And then this was from what I understand, this was a UK band or something like that here. And because of this, all hell, and so to speak, broke loose to where, having that mentality, people what's going on with the if it's banned, just like I gotta see. And so this is another initiative to give more interest into that, and that's why films like that have such a strong fan base. Yes, ma'am. I'll be right back. Hold on. What?
You find my thingy?
I don't know. Can you let me finish what I'm doing, and I get back to you?
I go play on the bars.
No, you got to play on the trampoline, okay?
Why?
Because I got to help you with the bars. Let me finish what I'm doing, and after I finish recording, I'll help you with those. Okay? My children are really interested in gymnastics, so we got bars for them to. Huh?
That water fell by itself.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Let me help her right quick. Okay, you should be fine now. See?
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome. And that's why I think that movies like that have such a strong fan base when the aspects of what is the content? Why is it so pearls clutching unjust? Why is it so bad? Why is it so unfeasible for somebody to watch? And so it also goes in the other element of why horror is perceived in different ways, because it encourages the element of taking things to another level. I talked about Nightmare on Elm Street last year, but I'm going to iterate the aspects of the psychological implement. Okay, hold on, baby. The psychological implement that this movie had. So, Wes Craven, with everything that he has brought into his arena of horror. He actually took this from what was going on with particularly from Cambodia, young boys who had suffered from the horrors of the killing fields and everything in that aspects. And there was notation about that they had such impactful dreams that they would literally die in their sleep. And so dispending the psychological aspects of what is implement when, some people are, not some people, fear, primarily what fear is, and how can we stretch that to the disbelief of having an entity embody these things. And then on top of the aspects of the, story plot of the nefarious character that is, and the unscrupulous character that is Freddy Krueger, and the lineage and everything. And so, I think fan theories in itself help to implement and to expel and go make even more extended content about these issues. So with this said, I'm going to get into the facts. Here we go. And of course, sources will be provided for you in this episode, so I'm going to get right into it here. Alright, so I'm going to, briefly, this a brief mention in the AI version. AI is just, I see it as just like a stepping stone to the real facts. And that's why, it's not good to heavily put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak, on what is said in the AI. And that's why I like to dig deeper into, actual articles that go on to say different things. It says fan theories about scary movies often reinterpret well-known films, suggesting hidden meanings, connections, or darker realities behind the surface narratives. These theories range from plausible reinterpretations to widely imaginative connections, frequently involving hidden messages, alternative identities, or supernatural explanations. There are popular platforms like Reddit and articles from sites such as ScreenRant where they discuss their entertainment value and the ability to reframe stories. Alright, so I'm going to get into 2 articles. First, the psychology of fear, and then into different fan theories to help give the basis into what I was to expand what I was saying about the psychological aspects of everything. All right, it says, why horror? The enjoyment that some people get from the fear is likely not from fear itself. Instead, thrills stems from these physical and emotional release that allows scary situations, according to Seeker, a division of Discovery. For some horror fans, the desire to feel fear is a manifestation of an adrenal-seeking personality. So fear is a negative emotion that comes about when people are under siege or threat, Professor Glenn Sparks told Seeker. Alright, yet people enjoy other aspects of the experience. So psychologist Glenn D. Walters identifies 3 primary factors that feed the attraction to horror entertainment. So the first is intention, which producers and directors create by including elements of mystery, suspense, gore, terror, and shock. The next factor is relevance. So horror films draw from this factor by establishing elements that viewers will identify with. This often means universal relevance, which plays on the psychological fear of death and the unknown, or cultural relevance of social issues. So Walter says that viewers also experience personal relevance as they identify the protagonist or the condiment of the antagonist. So no, not yet. Hold on. You gotta be patient. So the last fear Walters identifies is unrealism. So although horror entertainment has become more graphic in recent years, viewers realize that what they are watching is fake. Movies and TV shows use certain camera angles, soundtracks, and even humor to send cues that remind viewers that they are watching is intended to entertain. When horror films and TV shows use these factors in the right ways, they can play the psychological of fear in which that way appeals to viewers. So, biological reactions to fear. And I'm going to end on this and then, give my input. So for viewers to enjoy watching horror movies, they must also be aware that they are in a safe environment. So horror entertainment can trigger the fight or flight response, which comes from a boost of adrenaline, endorphins, and dopamine. So the brain can then process surroundings, including that.
Trying to come on the trampoline with me.
That's okay, baby. That the experience is not a genuine threat. This knowledge of personal safety is one reason horror fans habitually watch scary movies. So as psychologist Margie Carey told The Atlantis, it is particularly due to the phenomenon known as the excitation transfer. So after adrenaline, heart rate, heavy breathing, and other physical reactions of fear wear off, viewers experience intense relief. So positive feelings intensify. In short, fear floods our brains with feel-good chemicals, according to the Huffington Post. All right, so my thoughts about this before I get into some more, actual facts about fan theories about everything. I think a really good example of this, I'm taking from personal experience. Now, I said this before, I'm going to extend this out. So, The Exorcist. Now, my mom here, and, going on to things that I've seen, growing up, and then all of this, how does this, translate? So, before then, my mom had the attitude about horror films, oh, they're nothing, because she was really used to seeing films like Attack of the giant ants, or something goofy like that. The Be Gitchy movies, right? And so she was saying that her uncle had invited her to take her to a move to see The Exorcist, and she was like, oh well, it won't be anything because it's probably something goofy. And then I've heard people have accounts where they would just stop, go inside, baby, okay, go inside. So that people accounting, when this movie was first released into theaters, people being scared out of their wits. There was I remember some years back seeing something like a documentary about the filming of The Exorcist and everything, and that it was this one person talking about this. I don't know how real that was, but it's one of those things. You question how real that is. But anyway, was saying that there was this guy who was watching this, and he said he was a sailor or something, and then it scared him out of his wit so much that he had to get up and leave. And so, along to the same extent that my mom had the same reaction, because she never saw anything like that before, and so to the point to where she just had a disdain about horror films. She just didn't want to deal with it because, if they're gonna do something like that, what else is gonna happen? And so, I think The Exorcist is one of those unique entities of saying that because no, I told you already. Go. When I'm done, y'all can come. Your unique entities of this, also dispensing belief, but to add on to that, and to saying having the realm of possibility that this could possibly happen because of this, exorcism. This is ground in reality, and so all of these thoughts about, which is implementing to the aspects of why this is more point, going to what I just read, more poignant into the aspects of why people take a chance and want to watch horror films. They get that rush and they get that satisfaction and that approval of knowing that this isn't real and there is some concrete resolution into being suggested to content of this caliber. And so and then also to add on to that, what happens when there are films that blur with that and mess with that and hype it to the entity that there are no real solutions, then what? And that's something really interesting in itself too. All right, so ranker. So it says these are 12 horror movie fan theories that make favorite movies, scary movies, even scarier. Says Event Horizon and Hellraiser take place in the same universe. Says Event Horizon follows a group of space explorers who take Dr. William Weir back to his spaceship. So the Event Horizon so he can retrieve his experiment. So the plan seems simple enough until Weir reveals that his experiment is a machine that opened a portal to hell dimensions full of chains and nails that reminiscent the Hellraiser films. So Redditor Steve Ruskis believes that the similarities are more than just coincidence and that the two stories take place in the same universe. The theory is that you don't need the Lamech configuration to reach to the Cenobites as long as you have something that can open the door. So when Weir becomes a demon/Cenobite at the end of the Event Horizon, his transformation resembles the Cenobites from Hellraiser in the comic book series. So, number 2, Freddy from A Nightmare on Elm Street steals children's dreams to gain power. So it's a little unclear why Elm Street Freddy Krueger continues to torment local children without rest. Yes, he's getting back at the people who burned him alive after he took advantage of a bunch of children. But surely he should have found satisfaction long before the final nightmare. What if there is something else going on? So Redditor U Soft Hand Sam believes that Kruger collects the dreams of the teens he slays to expand his supernatural powers. So the user notes that in the original film, Freddy is significantly less powerful than he appears to be in later movies. So the Redditor thinks that one could logically assume that many of Freddy's more outlandish abilities, such as walking on the ceiling in the first movie or shifting a whole bunch in the third, are actually dream powers he stole from children. Home Alone, and this is a very popular one, that he is actually Jigsaw. He grows up to become him. And there's also a very interesting fan theory that I have said before, and that I'm gonna briefly mention this, that Home Alone in the essence is really just he's a special ops. They're not really what they seem. That they're all in special ops, and they're training him to be a part of the organization. So the Saw series is transition going on to this theory. It says the Saw series is known for the elaborate traps, all of which are created by Jigsaw and his followers. As the traps become more detailed, fans of the series began to connect the dots between the horror franchise and Kevin McAllister, the young, sadomasochist from Home Alone, so to speak, as they deem him. Throughout the Home Alone films, Kevin becomes obsessed with crafting and intricate traps and befriends old man Marley after mistaking the strangers from someone more sinister, and repeatedly evidence a mean streak that's justified by a sense of unserved justice. All of which lines up perfectly with Jigsaw's personality traits. The two even look sort of alike. Whereas the first Home Alone, with the same personality. Whereas the first Home Alone, Kevin is simply trying to defend his family home from intruders. The sequel highlights the child's darker side. So the second time around, the wet bandits want nothing to do with the McAllister family and aim instead to rob a toy store. That's something to think about. Jason is a demon in Friday the 13th. So it says that Jason Voorhees, he's actually a Deadite, aka the demon from Evil Dead films. So this theory comes from multiple sources who put their heads together on Reddit after a user U Backer said that they believe Jason is actually an evil spirit. Alright, so the Blair Witch Project involves time travel. It says for years, fans of the Blair Witch Project have been trying to figure out how Heather and her friends were able to get so lost while hunting for Blair Witch in a national forest. A user on the Blair Witch forum believes that after entering the woods, it's possible that Heather and the other walkers with her are in a time loop that sends us back to the 40s, when Rustin Parr was allegedly possessed by the witch. So the homeless man is a demonic spy in The Exorcist. So throughout The Exorcist, the audience is repeatedly assaulted with the demonic face of Pazuzu, who watches over their proceedings. It is spooky, but it also serves as in-film purpose, according to Redditor U Hendrix 47, that believes that Pazuzu relays information to Father Karnas that is collected by another demon informant. So there are two aliens in The Thing. John Carpenter's 1982 film, The Thing, is a masterclass in both suspense and horror. The movie keeps the audience guessing about which character is secretly an alien until the credit rolls, and even then no straight answers are provided. In some responses, the ambiguity, Redditor You Don't Waste Ink, asserts that there are actually two aliens causing havoc at the Arctic Research Station. Michael Myers is the spirit of the excuse me for the pronunciation of this, Shamahan in Halloween. So looking at the Halloween series as a whole, one notices that several distinct divisions of that. So the first distinction is the two films tell the story of Michael Myers breaking out of a mental institution, returning to his hometown to wipe out a bunch of teens, and being taken to a hospital where he continued to slay people until he's blown up. So there is a Season of the Witch, which doesn't have anything to do with Myers. Instead, the third film focuses on the scary androids, which actually treats the first two movies as a work of fiction. That's something to consider. So, sorry about that. It says in the Gaelic mythology, the Samhain is an actual festival held between October 31st and November 1st. So this is meant to recognize the arrival of the darker half of the year. So during the Samhain, the boundaries between the worlds of the living and the dead are blurred, and the day is usually connected with a grand bonfire. So since the holiday went to inspire the modern day concept of Halloween, yes, baby, stop. It would make sense that Mike Myers draws his powers from the ancient. Yes, baby. It's his ancient tradition. Alright, so the Evil Dead remake results from Mia's withdrawals. So in 2017, Redditor Iggy John posted that they aren't actually any demons or deadites in the 2013 remake of the first Evil Dead film, aside from personal demons. So the film begins with Mia going with brother and her friends to visit the cabin in the woods. So the point of the trip is to help Mia kick a drug habit, really. And she tosses her stash just before things get wild. So I think with the 2013 remake of Evil Dead, they went more serious and they really missed the marker. I don't know if they were intending to do that or whatever the reason was for that. They really missed the marker of the campiness and the wit and the humor behind, Sam Raimi's reasons for making a movie like Evil Dead. Especially having Bruce Campbell, because he is the quintessential king of B flicks, particularly horror and different aspects of B movies. And so it was supposed to be campy, and they just went too serious. And I think that's really, what's actually happening here. So Shaun and Ed accidentally run over a real person in Shaun of the Dead. So Redditor U. Flanders' theory about Shaun of the Dead puts a very dark spin on the otherwise sweet rom-com that's admittedly full of blood and guts. So once Ed and Shaun realize that the zombie apocalypse is happening, they take their roommate Peter's car and I didn't say that, baby. Once Ed and Shaun realize that the zombie apocalypse is happening, they take their roommate Peter's car and head off to save Shaun's girlfriend Liz. On their way over, they hit a pedestrian and the camera holds until the man returns to life as a zombie. Alright, so Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really a woman. It's quite interesting. So, thanks to Redditor, director Tobe Hooper. Go inside, baby. Okay? Go inside and I'll get you when I'm done, okay? Can you do that? So, thanks to Redditor director Tobe Hooper's oblique storytelling, Leatherface's sex has always been questioned. So Redditor U. Doris 5 believes that Leatherface isn't actually the mental ill son of Daddy Shore, but rather a woman who was raised like an animal, according to Redditor. She believes that she behaves like a 70s housewife dealing with food preparations while her husband is at work and her son's out frolicking. She is also presumably responsible for the lovely decoration of the adorn of the house. So again, this is very interesting, trying to take a stab at the aspects of filling out holes in the aspects of making social commentary of, it's really strange, but that's the problem with this film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it was supposedly based on an actual event, but it didn't take place in Texas. It took place in a northern state, and then they wanted to make it more, making some social commentary about a stereotype of what is thought about Texans. And so I think this is really in the wheelhouse of adding on to those stereotypes here. All right, so the last theory says series creator Oren Peli made a deal with a demon from paranormal activity. So, and what has to be one of the craziest fan theories ever, Redditor You, the Super Bowl Owl, cometh, posts that the creator of the Paranormal Activity franchise, Oren Peli, made a deal with the demon from the movies in order to create one of the most profitable film series of all time. So Redditor believes that the demon requires fear to grow stronger, and that Peli offered the demon endless powers by filming his misdeeds. So this reaches the end of the Harvey and Light. I absolutely like to know what you all think. Feel free to reach out, and if you want to learn more about the read into more, feel free to check out my sources. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. Bye-bye for now.